So for the viewers, Bill, your office is in the Fairhaven, Rumson area,
Hmm.
which is about an hour from Short Hills office, right down the Garden State Parkway,
Yep.
essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have three offices and 80 people.
Correct. Yeah. So when we left Long and Foster to come to Compass, we had 55 agents. I think we got all but one came with us, which was great. Since then, Compass has really helped us to grow quite a bit. We've had people just call us and say, "Hey, we'd love to talk to you about joining Compass. We've heard great things." It's been really good for our growth as a team and for retention, I think, too, as well. I think our old company was good, but I think this took us to the next level for our customers and for our agents.
I'm just curious, does the fact that Compass is number one in New York, does that help your area?
Where we are is a New York bedroom community for finance people primarily. There's a ferry that's about a 45-minute ride from here up to downtown and midtown. So it's a big draw for people that commute to the city. I think Compass being based in the city helps a lot for us because that's the center of our world as far as where people are
Yeah.
coming from. As well as our old company was based in DC. So we were on the outskirts of where they operated. With Compass being national and now going international, I think that's great. But yeah, being right close to the center of their universe, I think is very helpful. So, one thing that attracted us to Compass was the technology. And further than that, really, that everything was proprietary, meaning that everything kind of talks to each other. Foster, they offered us a lot of stuff, but it was all third party stuff. We had 10 or 12 different programs that we used.
10 or 12 different username and password.
Yeah, passwords. You don't have enough passwords to remember. So yeah, so it's made life a little easier. And I always say when I used to take a listing, it would take me a full day to get it up and going. Meaning
Right.
ordering brochures,
Right.
online, getting it up there, all that stuff. And now I can do all that probably within half an hour, 45 minutes, which is great.
That's one of the reasons why I left my old firm was because I felt like every time I had a new deal, new listing or new sale, I felt like I had to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a big undertaking to get it done right and to get it timely out into the market when you want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been very helpful. And it's nice to be able to spend more time doing either working on new business or just doing stuff you like, golfing, hanging out with your family, whatever.
Yeah. That's a good segue. So what do you like to do? You mentioned
Yeah, I run, I do CrossFit pretty actively. I play golf. We're down here by the beach and bay, so we do a bit of boating and fishing and a lot of outside activities, just hiking, that kind of
it
stuff.
is a beautiful area. It's
It is. It's great. Yeah, it's really nice. And it doesn't get too overpopulated where we are in the summer because it's a year-round community. So we don't get 100,000 people coming into town Memorial Day weekend, which is nice. It's just people who live here all year round.
I know this is the concierge show, but are you doing private exclusives down there?
I think it's worthwhile for sure. And there's always certain listings that you get that 5 or 6 people in the office may have someone for, like a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home in Rumson for $1,400,000. There's people lining up for those. It's probably smart to do certain listings. But I always question, I wonder if it gets the seller the best price or not. But sometimes people, that's not their main concern. Sometimes
Yeah.
they just don't want to have people trudging through their house for 3 weeks. You could say to a seller, I think your market value is 1.5. You'll get that all day long. If you put it on MLS, there's a chance you might get 1.6. Who knows?
Right.
But it may be
Right.
a little bit more arduous process. And if you don't want to
Right.
do that, then and you're happy with the number that we definitely can get, then I think it's
Right.
definitely a thing to try.
Yeah. And I always position private exclusive as like a soft launch so we can
Mhm.
get our ducks in a row. Those are
Yep.
clearly things that have to be done before you list.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Before you put your best foot forward to the public, for sure.
Was concierge interesting to you when you onboarded with Compass?
I think that was one of the things that attracted us as well, as aside from all the other things. I thought that was a unique proposition, meaning if these days I don't go up against other realtors as much as I used to in the past, but I think for younger agents, it's a great differentiator. You can explain the system to them and it's something that no one else offers that I'm aware of. I think that might be that differentiator that gets you the listing versus if you're going against a couple of other competitors for the listing itself.
Yeah. What trends are you seeing in the demographic that you're serving right now? You're in a more luxury market, right? So what are you seeing? Um, are these all homes that are in immaculate condition?
No, we're an older market, meaning that the homes in Rumson and Fairhaven, A lot of them were built somewhere between the late 1800s and the 1950s. So a lot of the homes, especially if there's someone that's been there for 50 years, I think the concierge is great because it can help them if the house hasn't been touched in 30 years. So now you're dealing with everything original. You can bring concierge in, and especially a lot of people at that point may not have the funds, especially liquid, to be able to do those things before they put it on the market. So I think concierge gives them the ability, or even an estate would be the same situation,
Right.
gives the children the ability to use that money up front to improve the house just enough so that it'll sell faster and hopefully get a pretty good return on the investment. Meaning, you don't want to spend $20,000 to get 10 back. You hope to spend $20,000 wisely and maybe get 50 or 60 back
Right.
and sell it quicker.
We're hearing on average 2 to 4x
Mhm.
max.
Yeah, that makes sense. You just have to know what things per situation make sense. A lot of times redoing floors makes sense. Taking out carpet makes sense. Painting makes sense. These are all small value propositions that can make a big difference, that can maybe hopefully get a bidding war going so that you get more than you're expecting.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
also just make the house that much more attractive for someone so that they can move in without having to do stuff right away. Meaning people always say, wow, I got to do the floors, I got to paint, I got to do this. If you can do all that stuff for them, and it might be not exactly what they want for the long term, but if they can live there for a year or so before they have to start doing that stuff, sometimes it's helpful.
Yeah. Do you have any concierge success stories that you could share?
Yes, I had one. Actually, it was an estate. I was dealing with three children in three different states. Thankfully, they were all on the same page and they all had the same goal in mind.
Oh,
So
that's
they're
a
very,
miracle. That's amazing.
I know it's very, yeah, unique. So, yeah, so I suggested concierge. And at first, they were, we don't really need that. We have money,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
That's the first thing they say.
Yeah, they get offended for a second. They feel like you're insinuating that they don't have any money or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always say there's famous business guys that say, why would you use your own money when you can use someone else's money? And it's even at one point it was interest free. Now there's a small percentage of interest that
It's
they charge.
6% in New Jersey. It's 6%.
Yeah, and over the time frame that you're actually using it, it's minimal. It comes out to pennies really when you figure it out. So yeah, so why sell stocks or something to use your own money when you can just use this and pay it back at closing? It's not a big deal. So it's become helpful, I think, in those situations where sometimes they'll just let me manage the process, find the contractors, get them in there, get the stuff done as quickly as possible, and then put it on the market. And usually it's much better received than it would had you not done it. And a lot of times the money can be used for just clearing the house out, getting rid of things. It can also be used for issues like if a house has a 35-year-old septic system and it's going to be an issue and a new septic
Oh,
is,
yes.
and a lot of times a credit will do the trick, but not always. Sometimes finance companies won't close unless the septic is replaced or repaired.
Well, and a lot of times buyers want the work done before they
Yeah.
move in.
Yes. You can use those funds as the seller to make corrections of things that need to be fixed, deficiencies during the inspection process,
Yeah.
which is nice too. They were just like, can you help us? Can you manage the process? And we'll do the full amount and let's just spend $25,000 the way you think that makes sense to spend it. And let's do it. Get it done.
That's great. They give you full reign
Carte
on that
blanche, yeah,
one?
which is nice.
They didn't give you the card, did they?
Oh, no, they had to set that up. They set that up with the contractor prior. But yeah, no, but I it did take a lot of time out of my day or out of
Yeah.
to
Sure.
manage the process, letting people in, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what good agents do. That's what sets you apart
Right.
from the regular agent, right?
Yeah. And it's rewarding. At the end of the day, they gave you permission to transform their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And these are
hopefully it helped the sale in that instance. Hopefully it helped the sale.
yeah. And these are people that generally grew up in that house, grew up in the area, still have friends here. They're going to refer you people if you do a great job.
Let me ask you another technique. It's not necessarily a compass technique, but is there a lot of coming soons down there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do coming soon. I think it's a good idea. I think the great thing about it is if you have a good listing that's priced well, it's going to get shown a lot, right? So you might have 20, 30, 40 showings within that first week. If you can manage the flow of those people, and I think that by using coming soon, you can manage that flow pretty well. And I sell coming soon, basically saying what I'm saying right now is that you can put it as coming soon on a Monday, start the showings on Friday so that now the agents can make appointments Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you do Friday
Right.
showing, Saturday showing, Sunday open house. And probably by Sunday or early Monday, you're going to start getting multiple offers. So the great thing for the sellers is they only have to show the house for 3 days rather than having it open to the public for 7 days or 10 days and rearranging their schedule every time somebody wants to make a showing. They can basically I tell them, just get out of town for 3 days, just go on a trip and it'll get shown 50 times. You'll probably have 7 or 8 offers and then we're done. 3 days and you're
Yeah.
over.
Well, it's
Painless.
probably
They just they want it to be quick, simple, and easy. The more simple we can make the process for them, the better. And obviously, it's not the days where you had to have a house on the market for 150 days. That was a whole different world. And I think just everything's so quick now, and people are so used to that for the past 6 or 8 years that they expect it.
what do you think we could do as a company to get our branding out there?
I think they're just pretty impressed with the professionalism when I explain that all the agents here have to have a certain amount of business and a certain amount of experience to even be hired, which is not the usual in this business. As they used to say, fog the mirror and you're hired. You have all the agents that work for the company are professional, doing business, and have experience. So even if I'm on vacation for a day or two or not reachable for whatever reason, I have, you know, 10 people in my office that are just as good as me that can help you out as well, that can back me up.
I don't know if you were at the Atlanta retreat about 2 years
Mhm.
ago, but I shared with a cab driver. He asked me, "What's different about your real estate company?" I said, "Oh, we're one brokerage nationwide. We're not franchises." And he says,
Right.
"Oh, I get that. You guys
Yeah.
all like get along. You work together." I'm like,
Yeah.
"How did you know that?" Like, it's
Yeah.
not, they get it.
It makes sense. I always say when I'm interviewing agents or whatever with franchises, they're great because you can run them the way that you want and that kind of thing. You're only as good as your broker owner. Whatever services
Yeah.
they offer to you, you can offer to your clients. Here, we get the full suite of everything. There's no limitations. There's no owner saying can do this, can't do that. Everybody's on an equal playing field, which is great.
So, is New York necessarily your biggest feeder market, or is that just a misconception? What we
We've made good connections with North Jersey as a whole. I think we've made good connections at Short Hills, at Morristown, Hoboken, Jersey City, some areas of New York City, Brooklyn, which are all feeder markets to our market. Most of the people coming to our area are Brooklyn, Hoboken, Manhattan, maybe a little bit of Queens, probably not that bad.
and then reasons for moving out of Fairhaven, and are these is typical Florida, Carolinas type of thing, like
It,
downsizing?
it could be. So where we are, the home prices are very high and the taxes are very high. So one of the major reasons people move here is for the quaintness, but also for the schools. So they don't mind paying high prices and high taxes for the schools. But it's funny, as soon as their oldest was about to graduate high school, the for sale sign goes up. And then they move over 2 towns over to a nice townhouse on the ocean or whatever the case may be. Something a little more maintenance
Put down
free.
for that piece. So, question about Compass again in terms of what we could do better. Well,
Yeah.
how do you feel about our marketing? Do you guys have your own marketing? What
Yeah.
practices do you use to
I think one of the things that attracted us again was the marketing ability. Basically, we are given a marketing person that we can lean on to do things for us. We can go to them and say, we'd like to do a marketing campaign for recruiting or for whatever, listings, whatever the case may be. And we can work with them to put together a campaign and then they'll design it for us and execute it
Yeah,
for us, which is fantastic because obviously realtors are not that creative. We're just salespeople and not having to employ someone outside the company, it saves you money and time. And I think it also, for the company, for our overall image, I think it keeps it much more concise and everything looks consistent. Everything's the same. It's not like some other competitors where everybody's got their own color, their own sign, their own name. You don't know who the
right.
company is even because it's down in the corner or whatever. So I think it keeps the brand much more consistent, which is great.